Open my eyes, let me wake up. Penthouse, shake up, filling up, day cup. You ready? Shit, raise up. I'm ready for confetti and party until it's gone. How long we get it right? All year long. That's a toast to the people that we did it with. Putting on a show, every city now we killing it. Never starting drama, but we always make the scene. Time to take you for a ride down at 2013. Okay, now let me hit you with a rundown.
Live here on the Coolest of the Cool, the Koolykool Show. Your host, Frank.
And starts working, and when you work it like that, you know I gotta play. Cause I'ma tap that ass harder than the NSA. If they listen in, then you should listen to and live for today. Let these words ring true. Tonight, fight the break of dawn. Tomorrow,
you're listening here on the live on the Coolest of the Cool, the Koolykool Show. Your host, Frank. Kicking here on this Tuesday night.
Safe tonight, cause tomorrow I'll be gone, sure. Now I don't pop Molly, I go rob for.
We got a lot to talk to.
All I need from you's a cronut.
Trouble in Afghanistan. If you haven't heard the news already, but hope you've been watching. Hope you've been listening, looking, and learning.
Woo! Don't be living in the past of all the folks that pass here. Gotta keep our head up, we'll never find someone better than President Mandela. Through the way I come together, remember why we're here. Cause sometimes it feels like life isn't fair. But when the whole world goes wrong, we can all come together.
Remember, you're listening here live on the Coolest of the Cool, the Koolykool Show. Your host, Brent. Be sure if you're listening to chat in, ask any questions. Also follow us on YouTube at the Koolykool Show. You can also follow us on Twitter. You can also follow us on TikTok, the Koolykool Show. So, let's get it started. All right. Thank you for listening in here live here on the Coolest of the Cool, the Koolykool Show. Your host, Brent. Trouble in Afghanistan. Yes, if you haven't heard the latest buzz going on, you haven't watched any news or television or heard any media outlets, there is trouble in Afghanistan. 20 years we spent fighting in Afghanistan against the Taliban, against the insurgency for which 9/11 sparked off a new war on terrorism, which 9/11 is coming up very shortly, next month, in a couple of weeks. And 20 years we spent fighting, defending, helping, preserving. And the Taliban has recently just taken over Afghanistan within a matter of days. It's a hot topic. People are trying to figure out what's going on, what happened. But if you know how certain things are, you would probably have seen this already coming. And it's a hard pill to swallow. For our military veterans, I am a veteran, and to have heard and to see this and just watch this clips they have, it kind of strikes a chord with you. It really does. 20 years of working diligently, making sacrifices, serving our country, and for this to happen. It's a hard pill to swallow, but in the end, I think each and every one of us probably already knew the full outcome of what was going to happen once the U.S. fully and completely withdrew from the country of Afghanistan. It's just one of those things that where, like I said, it's a tough pill to swallow. It's hard, and you don't like the outcome of it, and you kind of wonder, where was all our effort? Did we were over there for it kind of makes you wonder, what were we doing? If an outcome turned like this, what was the full objective? And it's hard. It's really hard to sit back and act like this doesn't affect every single American in this country, in the United States. It's hard to say that it does not affect you. For 20 years, we've been at this battle, this front runner of the war on terrorism. 9/11 happened. The Twin Towers was attacked. We were attacked on American soil. We went to Afghanistan to fight the terrorist organization that caused terror and fear into the United States. And we let it known from that point on, you're not going to terrorize us. You're not going to bully us. You're not going to push us around. We're going to go take the fight to you. And we did. And in the midst of that, we did a lot of good. We helped kind of liberate a country that needed change, needed new reform, needed a new government, needed new advances to help their country. We spent 20 years, 2 decades in a foreign country helping, aiding. While also we had 20 years of losing American servicemen and women fighting, sacrificing their lives for the better good of another country, to keep dear in heart to what we believe is the way to go about things here in America, fighting for a cause. And now that terrorist organization has taken over Afghanistan within a couple of days. It truly is a confusing moment. It just doesn't make much sense. But as I said earlier, as the podcast started, I said it kind of seen this coming. I would put it to the most as like this: Tom Brady with the New England Patriots. Everybody knew once Tom Brady left the New England Patriots, you would see a downfall in the New England Patriots. And what did you get from the Super Bowl? What did you get from the, not Super Bowl, what did you get from the New England Patriots after Tom Brady left? Yeah, they got Cam Newton, but they weren't successful as they were with Tom Brady. It just is, you try to understand what happened. What went wrong? So I was reading an article in the New York Times. The New York Times had posted it. Says fear spreads in Kabul as the Taliban take charge. And it breaks it down into certain sections. And yes, they took over Kabul. And it's just mind-blowing. The Afghan president fled, and the Taliban decided to take over the presidential palace. Yes, this is true. The Afghan president fled. I don't know where exactly, but I'm pretty sure he got the hell out of Afghanistan. And the Taliban took over the presidential palace. They are now in control of that. The Taliban has also taken over the Kabul airport. I believe they did. Yes. But at this point in time, I believe the Kabul airport is reopened for possible evacuations. I don't know how strongly true that is. I do know, if you had watched the local news in the past 2 days, that it was in such turmoil that you had C-130s, you had military flights trying to take off, and you had tons and hundreds of Afghan people trying to catch a ride on these military flights leaving out of Afghanistan. And there were some people that were still on the plane, holding on for dear life. And as the plane was taking off, you've seen people falling to their deaths, trying to get out of Afghanistan. I mean, this is real. This is, if you could go on any social media outlet, look up type of, Afghan people trying to get out, you will see this by the hundreds of people, of Afghan people trying to get out. This is unbelievable. I mean, the Afghans just stormed the Kabul airport in desperate bid to escape. I mean, this is crazy. So, what I want to talk about is, why do you think? Well, more or less, let's go back to this. What do you think the outcome was going to be when the U.S. was going to, at eventually some point in time, leave Afghanistan? Now, I'm going to say, to answer that question from my own perspective, it's a little like this. We obviously go to the country in response to a terrorist organization that has pretty much delved itself into Afghanistan, its own country. That's where the terrorist cell had kind of originated, the Taliban. Well, you can also say some other countries, but we're not going to say it here. So, but they dug themselves in there. America, with intelligence, had found out, okay, Osama bin Laden had orchestrated the Taliban, has grown in mass numbers. So we go to Afghanistan. We take the fight to them, to the Taliban, not to the country, not to the country people of Afghanistan. We take it to their terrorist organization that is in Afghanistan, causing mayhem to their country. We get a working relation with the Afghanistan government in order to rid the Taliban out of the country. And guess what we do for a period of time? We actually break down a major cell in the beginning, break down a major cell in the Taliban. They had camps and everything set up. And the U.S., we went in there and we just obliterated it. But then, on the midst of taking that out, small little pockets of the Taliban started to resurface in different villages. And so, at that point, we knew that the Taliban was dismantled, but yet they were still lingering around, making little pockets of terrorist cells that were still the Taliban. And I've said this before. I've been to Afghanistan. I was deployed to Afghanistan. I was to Iraq. And the one thing I can tell you, and I've told many people this who have asked me about what's the difference between Afghanistan and Iraq, I would say this. Afghanistan, when you're fighting the Taliban are individuals. They ain't afraid to go ahead and sock you in the mouth. They ain't afraid to throw them hands. I would say that, and I would put that, a bit cash on that. From my experience, having been in confrontation with the Taliban is not afraid to throw some hands. Going to Iraq was a different situation. It's more like little different pockets of insurgents. They not necessarily are all together or well organized. You just have a lot of individuals that have just kind of an issue with the Americans, we being in their country and trying to promote different types of change implemented in their country. So many of them do want to stay there, many others don't. But it isn't kind of well orchestrated as I would say the Taliban is in Afghanistan. It's just, that's my take on it. But I see this coming. It's, and the one thing is, we go to Afghanistan, we're going there to fight a terrorist organization. We're not there to occupy and take over the country and to, what people assume that the United States government, I mean, honestly, if we wanted to take over the country of Afghanistan, we could have at a certain time period, within that 20 years period that we were in Afghanistan. But we didn't do that. That wasn't the objective. That our objective was to get rid of the Taliban, the main insurgent terrorist organization in that country. That's what the objective was. It wasn't to take over the entire country. Now, could we have done it? Yes, but in hindsight, we didn't want to, because it's not what our objective was. Not what we intended to do. It's not what we wanted to do. That's not why we went over there. It's besides, it's a country we wanted the people to kind of be free, to be able to have the same kind of rights that we have here and in other countries. It's kind of like, hey, we understand that there is a cultural difference. We understand there's a religious difference, But at the same time, everybody else is kind of getting on the same page as, with the kind of up-to-date type of things. And we would like you guys to get up to date too. But at the same time, it's like, you don't want to kind of mess up their kind of the way they do things. But at the same time, you're not going to really tolerate with dealing with the nonsense. You rather help them and show them so that way they can get to a certain way. And that's what the Americans, we came in there, we figured, hey, get rid of the insurgents that have been causing and creating a lot of problems around the world globally. And at that time, we're going to train and teach your individuals, your personnel in your country in Afghanistan, your soldiers. We're going to get them up to speed in order, at a point in time, they are self-sufficient in order to take care of themselves. And what we end up finding is basically not a worse nightmare, but is what we knew was going to happen, that they were not going to be self-sufficient. But how long are you going to be helping a country that is not willingly going to be self-sufficient into taking care of themselves? It's almost as that maybe they wanted us to be part of their country, wanted the United States to say, hey, you're part of the United States. We're going to take care of you. We're going to clean it up. We're going to be running things for you in some way, shape, or form. But yet still, this is your country or whatever. No. We're giving you and laying the groundwork for you guys to better yourself in order to rid and recognize and to get these terrorist individuals that are creating havoc and trying to dictate certain things that are not acceptable in the world as we know it. Other countries around the world don't accept this kind of Taliban behavior, and so we're trying to tell you this is not acceptable behavior. You don't have to accept this. So, but at the same sense, it's like, did they learn anything? Were they really listening? Were they studying, basically? Or were they just saying, oh, it's just free, this. No, at a point in time, you're going to have to pay your due, and you're going to have to get out there and handle your business and take care. And it seemed like they never did that. So that's why many Americans are now just saying it's a lost cause. We were there for 20 years, and it was nothing. And I'm going to say right here, for each and every American serviceman and woman that served their country, and for the individuals, the men and women that we lost in Afghanistan, your efforts, our efforts, were not lost while we were serving our country in Afghanistan. I don't want any of us to think that we didn't, because that's complete horseshit. We went over there, we did our mission, we did our objective, and we handled our business, and we did it because we were fighting a terrorist organization. We were protecting the freedoms and rights of our own countrymen while also helping another country out. And I've always thought this ever since I was a young kid, that, help those that cannot defend for themselves. You see somebody getting picked on by a freaking bully, and somebody who's kind of small and doesn't have the ability to thwart off this bully, you kind of want to step in and you want to help out. You don't want to just say, well, I don't know what to tell you. Hey, you're going to get your ass kicked. Huh? At a point in time, you're going to know what? I'm going to step in because I know they can't defend for themselves. And you help them. And then at that point, you get the bully back, you back them off, and then you take them, you say, hey, I want to show you a couple of things so maybe next time you can stand up to this guy and you can freaking hold your own. I'm going to give you the confidence, the ability, the skills, the smarts in order to successfully, next time having to encounter this bully punk, you can kick his ass. And that's what, in hindsight, we believe that we were doing for Afghanistan. But in reality, in the past couple of days, what we've seen is just the complete opposite. We've seen a country fall and fail where it leads you to think, what happened? It's mind-boggling. It's baffling. I know a lot of people have questions. I know the Biden administration is under lots of scrutiny right now as far as the situation in Afghanistan. And President Biden has said, and I don't know all the exactly words, but what he said basically, he says, how long do you want us to be in the country? And basically he was saying the exact same thing. At a point in time, the country's got to be able to stick up and stand up on their own 2 feet. We can't be there all the time and every time and be able to help you get you out of the gym. You got to be able to help yourselves. You got to be able to utilize the resources that we gave you and we've shown you in order to take care of yourself. And in retrospect, we've seen the outcome of a country not listening and just not doing what they were supposed to do. I mean, 20 years. I mean, goodness. I mean, if you know anything about history, the Russians, the USSR, the Soviet Union was actually at war with Russia. Was actually at war with Afghanistan in the late 70s and the 80s. I mean, at a point in time, I think the Russians had known that, hey, this is kind of a lost cause. We're trying to do anything, but I think maybe it was a little more different. But as I can remember, let me just check something real quick. But I'm pretty sure Russia was kind of doing their thing with trying to get Afghanistan on board or whatever. And then at a point in time, they wasn't listening. Then it seemed like Russia turned into smacking them upside the head. Said, "You listening? Hey, we're trying to help you. Trying to get you up in par. You got to help us." And then at a point in time, Russia just said the hell with it and just left. Because there's like, they're not listening. You know? I mean, obviously, Russia just up and just left and said, the hell with it. We get, the tanks are shit. Our stuff over there, we got new technology. You know what? We're out. And they just rolled out because they kind of saw the writing on the wall. I mean, heck, wasn't there a movie? Matter of fact, I know this is kind of far-fetched. The movie Rambo 3, one of my favorite movies with Sylvester Stallone. I don't know why. Rambo was in Afghanistan fighting along the rebels, who were fighting against the Russians. And, kind of look back on it, kind of like, oh, damn. So, I mean, there's a lot that seems to be going on with what is happening in all around the world too. It's just different. I don't know, it's a lot of crazy. So wait a minute, we're gonna go ahead and take a quick actually I don't want to say commercial break because I don't have a commercial, but if you've been following me, I usually gonna say what I'm gonna go get something to drink and I'm gonna be right back. All right, so don't go nowhere. I'm going to go get something to drink. We'll be right back for some more of the Koolykool show. All right. Like I said, I'm going to go get something to drink. You know what I'm saying? Don't go nowhere. All right. Or you can forget about it. You know what I mean? All right, be right back. Here, you heard it here on the live on the Koolykool show. Be right back. Yep.
Places to find a piece of Somewhere I can breathe. I've got so much to see. This is where I wanna be. In a place I can call mine. In a place I can call mine. I'm moving, I'm coming. Can you hear what I hear? It's calling you, my dear. Out of reach, take me to my knees. I can hear it calling you. I'm coming, like drowning, swimming closer.
All right, you're back here live on the Coolest of the Cool, the Koolykool Show. Your host, Brent. Be sure to like us, follow us on Twitter. Follow us also on TikTok, the Koolykool Show. Also follow us on Instagram, Brent the Champ. Yes, I'm sorry, Brent. Yes, Brent the Champ. Also, you can follow us also on my YouTube channel, which is the Koolykool Show, which all my podcasts are actually uploaded automatically onto YouTube. So if you missed it here, missed anything, be sure to follow me on the YouTube at the Koolykool Show, where you get to listen to all my podcasts. I got some video game things on there as well. Like a little video game. Just recently got finished playing the Red Dead Redemption 2. It's a good game. Probably one of the best open world games. Anyway, let's get back on the topic. Trouble in Afghanistan. Yes, we've been talking about the latest crisis going on around the world right now, and we're talking about the trouble in Afghanistan, how the Taliban has taken over the entire country, and I'm going to say the entire country because they took it over. We left, they took over. It wasn't something that was going to be like, oh, they're going to be able to, no, kind of seeing the writing on the wall. It just sucks on how fast and how it seems as though the Afghanistan government kind of just dwindled and allowed it to happen. Kind of like no fight was put up. It was just like, it's like they just laid down and just I don't know. It's just, So anyway, the New York Times had also posted something in the outpouring of refugees from Afghanistan crisis. So this is going to be kind of another topic, because if you have a lot of the situation going on where a lot of Afghans are trying to flee the country because the Taliban has taken over rule in Afghanistan, many of the Afghan people who don't like the Taliban are going to flee the country, their own country, and go to other countries, which just becomes a huge problem. Because now you can have a ton of refugees going to try, I guess, seek asylum or so in other neighboring countries around Afghanistan. And this is where a lot of issues come to. You're going to have a lot of immigrants coming from Afghanistan going to other countries in hopes to just try to, like I said, you had Afghan people, they showed on the news where they were hanging on to military charter planes trying to get out, and they were holding on, and the planes in the sky, and they're literally falling off. I'm not making this shit up. This is true. This is what happened. This is what was going on. I think they kind of calmed it down now. I know American personnel have been, rest of the American personnel have been ordered to evacuate Afghanistan immediately. And I mean, I'm pretty sure the other foreign or allies had already been left. But the situation, many people have trying to say this situation on the evacuation and how the takeover is kind of somewhat a kind of similar situation at the end of the Vietnam War, as American personnel were gathering in the last version, were getting out of Vietnam, and then the Vietnamese, the North Vietnamese had taken over the rest of the country. So it's kind of almost somewhat, I don't like saying repeat, but somewhat similar as the end of the Vietnam War. I don't know. I think it's just weird how certain situations like that had happened, and how, what goes through. I don't know. So anyway, the UN chief urges the Security Council to use all tools to help Afghanistan. Now, I did hear that the UN wants to keep a close monitoring over the Taliban. Now, the Taliban have came out and spoken and saying that they're not going to try to harm or hurt. I don't think that to be true, but that's what they're saying. They say it's kind of a new thing that they're trying to do, but yet some of their views that they have talked about haven't really been the best of persuading to say that they're not going to use terror and try to harm and hurt their own people. I did see something where they said, chopping people's arms off, stoning people is still going to be acceptable. And a lot of issue has been as far as with the women in their country. A lot of issues have been surrounding about the women in their country as far as there are certain rights. A lot of the women in Afghanistan had a lot more rights within the past 20 years have been in Afghanistan, have been given more rights and more leeway to do things in that country. It's opened up big doors for a lot of the women in their country. Now it's kind of going to be sheltered or kind of withdrawn or pushed back or almost be non-existent since the Taliban. And the Taliban have said certain things that they plan on not trying to really do violence or hurt to the women in the country. But at the same time, you never know what's happening behind closed doors. They could say it all for just kind of a political agenda move to say, hey, look, we're doing really nice. Then the back door, they're slapping you upside the head. That kind of stuff. So if you don't really know exactly what's really going on with that, you can just only hope and pray that maybe what they're saying is actually going to go forth, or maybe they're going to change, but you don't know, because remember, this is a terrorist organization that does not like the United States and or its allies, and has committed atrocities to the U.S. and its allies in countries by committing certain dastardly deeds into harming, killing, maiming individuals, innocent people. So, like I said, that's you really can't really be like, oh yeah, okay, we're gonna listen to you. It's yeah. See what I'm saying? So, I mean, European leaders hope to deflect an expected wave of Afghan militants, and this goes back to outpouring refugees from Afghanistan crisis. So Europe is going to be on the hook right now, because Europe is part of here. Europe is going to probably see influx of people from Afghanistan are trying to get out, that are fleeing the country. They're going to push toward Europe, because guess what? Europe is close by. Europe is a little more modernized. Europe has money. Europe has probably the area where you're going to want to go. And I'm pretty sure a lot of Europe doesn't really want the huge influx like that. But with the crisis and the situation going on, it is a crisis. It's a crisis to which only time will tell and how things are going to play out. It really is. I can't see in the just early months where Europe is flooded with a lot of Afghan militants. I can see that in the long haul later on that they probably will be eventually. And it's not going to come up in high numbers automatically, but will eventually creep up in high numbers. And you can tell that America's going to probably end up having the same thing, but it's going to be longer and a long, lengthier process. But that process probably will be, you'll see it. It's not as much as Europe's going to face it, considering Europe is just right in that bubble, right there. It's like they're the next door neighbor, but they're like looking out the window like, bro, please get off the door, You're like, no, you cannot stay the night. Okay, you need to go talk it out with your woman. You need to let her know that you care about her. You need to fix what's at home. All right. So trouble in Afghanistan. It's a lot. So I've ran this podcast pretty long, I believe. Well, anyway, we're just talking about some new things going on in the news. If you hadn't heard, trouble in Afghanistan. Time will only tell exactly what the whole the reaction cause of everything that's happened. There is also a cause and effect to this whole situation. I know our men and women, our servicemen and women, our veterans, we're kind of all thinking the same thing. We knew this was going to eventually happen. We knew it was probably going to play out this way. But at the same time, sometimes we think in the back of our mind, be like, then what was the whole entire point? But then remember back that it was always about helping. It was always about protecting what we have here in America. It's avenging the terrible deed that was happened on 9/11. We went there to fight in a terrorist organization in reference to what they did to us in our home front. We got the main guy, and we were trying to rid a country and get rid of a terrorist organization. We did our job. We completed our mission. But at the same time, I understand many of us are probably saying, but still, how could we just let a country like that fall? Like I said, at a point in time, you hope that you give the resources, the tools, the knowledge to that country on how to defend themselves, how to be structured, and how to go forth in the future, and to be able to take care of themselves. And evidently, we did everything in hopes of ensuring that, but at some point in time, they have to stand on their own 2 feet. And if they're not willing to stand on their 2 feet, then we can't be there to baby them. I'm pretty sure many of you guys said, stop sucking to your mama's titty. All right? You can't be, a grown person. Well, I'll just change my mind on that. But I'm saying you can't be like be dependent all the time. You got to be able to, stand on your own 2 feet, and do what you need to do for yourself. And obviously, what happened in Afghanistan is we're going to wait and see what goes on. I hope good things happen. You never want to see a country be decimated by certain organizations they're determined to just do crazy things, especially to their own countrymen. Like I said, only time will tell. It's only you can tell. But so it pretty much wraps it up for my podcast here tonight. If you listened, thank you. I appreciate it. Always do. You heard it here live on the Koolykool Show. Your host, Brent. Be sure to follow us, like us on all my social media platforms, and make sure you subscribe. Make sure you tell a friend. Make sure you tell everything about it. All right. Like I said, this live podcast episode was Trouble in Afghanistan. So, as my podcast comes to an end, trying to think what song to leave you with some sweet melodies. No, I'm not that nice. So, anyway, thank you for listening. Be sure to listen next time, and make sure that you listen and know when the next time I have my podcast. You can follow us on Spreaker.com. All right, take care. Thank you. Bye. Oh, wait, I'm just going to say, you're here live on the Koolykool Show. Your host, Brent. Thank you.